but we do need to assess and we do need to do it properly. Leanne, when you hear the word assessment, what do you immediately think of? I think Leanne might have gone out.
Sorry, still got problems with setting up here. So basically what I hear is to look at
see what the child's doing, to see where you can improve on that child. So it's basically like just checking a few questions and then see where you can improve as a teacher as well. Not by just assessing the child, but also look at where you can go wrong and then just follow up on that. Yeah, just follow up on that basically.
Cool, thank you, Leanne. Yeah, I believe why we assess young children is to see what the child knows, to know where we start, what the child is currently learning, where the child may be struggling, and what we should plan next to ensure the child progresses. Children all develop at different speeds, and assessment helps us to meet where each child is, and then we can meet them at the level where they are. So in ECDs, assessment happens during play, it happens during routines every single day, and it's continuous. It's not a once-off task at the end of a term. It is continuous. It's done every single day. Sorry, I just want to go to the next slide there. All right, an introduction to ECD assessment. Assessment helps us to recognize what children already know and can do. It guides daily planning and activity selection. It identifies learners who need additional support. And as we mentioned previously, assessment is continuous, natural, and part of every single day. So the different types of assessment we look at in ECDs is a baseline assessment. A baseline assessment shows us what the child can already do at the start of the year or the term. It answers a very simple question of what does the child already know before we've started teaching them. As an example, if you were to do a color theme, you would check whether a child already recognizes specific colors and then work from there. It's important to note this is not a test. It's not about passing or failing. It helps us to start at a correct level and again meet the child at a level where they are. So I also believe that it's important for us to understand why a baseline assessment is important before the teaching begins. And as I said, that is to know exactly where we start. Tabo, for our level, for instance, recognizes colors before the color theme begins. And then from there, we move on to a formative assessment, which is an assessment that happens every single day. It's daily monitoring through observation. It includes watching children play, listening to how they speak, observing how they interact with each other and their peers, noticing how they use equipment around them. As an example, noticing how a child holds scissors during an art activity. It's one of the most important forms of assessment we find in an ECD. If you only assess at the end of the term, you're a little too late to help the child, but through formative assessments and daily monitoring, we can see each and every single day what the needs of the child is, and we can help guide them through that. The third type of assessment we look at is diagnostic assessment. This is identifying areas where intervention is needed. So a diagnostic assessment is used when a child is struggling with a specific skill. It helps us to also understand why the child is struggling. As an example, if the child is struggling to build a puzzle, we can look at whether this is fine motor skills that's an issue, whether it's understanding of the puzzle that's an issue, or whether concentration might be an issue. And through diagnostic assessment, this leads to support. We can see where the need is, and we can then assist them through that need. Fourth is a summative assessment regarding the process at the end of a term or period. So a summative assessment shows us what the child has learned throughout this period and how the child has progressed from their baseline assessment. It's important that a summative assessment is based off of many observations that we've made and not just from memory or guessing at the end of a term. All right, the different assessment tools that we use. So assessment tools helps us to collect evidence. This assists us in keeping our opinions out of the assessment and working with evidence. Observation notes. An observation note needs to be short, factual, and based on what we see and hear. As an example, we might write that a child was naughty, but this is not a correct example. An excellent example would be if we write that the child left the group twice during story time and did not respond well when called. This way we can see that it's not a loose topic where we can just say the child was naughty and there's no facts around it. We can see that the child left twice and did not respond when called, and we can work from this observational note. This also works for positives. Anecdotal notes. These describe short events and are written almost in a short story. It helps us to see patterns over time. Anecdotal notes help us to understand children better. We've got point number 3, which is a checklist. This tracks skills that have been achieved, but it must be linked to age or learning outcomes. Checklists are not enough on their own, as it's ticking a box, and we do need other observations and records, but it does assist us to track where the child is. Then we've got developmental rubrics. Developmental rubrics, or it helps us measure the level of development of the child. It's a rating scale, which we could measure the child on. Then we've got a portfolio of the child's work, or a portfolio of evidence. This is there to show us progress over time. It may include drawings, writing, photos, worksheets of the child, and it shows us development over a period. We strive for development and progress over perfection, and a portfolio of evidence is a great way to show us how a child has developed over a period. Lastly, number 6, we've got photographs and video clips, which we use with permission from the parents. So photos support the written evidence. They do require parent permission, and they help us to see learning in action. It helps us to show exactly what the child is doing, and we can go back and review this in time. All right, linking assessments to learning outcomes. So each activity must link to a learning outcome or any learning development area. We do not observe everything that happens, but we do observe specific skills. Examples would be block play, which works with problem solving and fine motor skills, story time, which assists with language and development, and outdoor play, which looks at gross motor and social skills. If you do not know which skill you are looking for, you will not see it. So it's really important that we look at the skills and we understand exactly which skills the specific types of play targets. Right, then recording and reporting assessment. It's important that we keep it simple, clear, and use factual notes. Write what the child did, not how we feel about how the child did, or any unnecessary notes. It's very, very important to keep it simple, clear, and factual. It's important to use child-friendly language for reports so that the child also understands what's written on the report, and they can read it, they can be proud of it, and they can use it as a tool to learn. We focus on strengths before we start with challenges. So we would go from starting with strengths, mentioning areas for support, and then use parent-friendly language as well, so that the parents can understand what we are saying to them. We can share recommendations with the parents for them to assist the children. And then reporting should reflect development, not judgment. It's important to note that we are there to develop a child and not to judge them. And so if we look at this, Tabo is beginning to use a two-word sentence during play and shows confidence when engaging with his peers. How would we assess Tabo? Which method would we use to assess Tabo? Is there anyone that would like to answer that question? All right. Amelia, could you answer that question for me, please? Amelia? All right, I don't see a response there from Amelia. Bendelia, are you there? All right, Anne, do you mind answering the question for us? Remember that the question was, how would you assess Tabo when Tabo is beginning to use two-word sentences during play and shows confidence when engaging with his peers?
Hendrik, let me just jump in here because I see no one no one is responding to you.
No, it doesn't seem like anyone
Let's
is
quickly just go through the list. Mita Sortetsi, are you there with us? Please unmute yourself. Mita Sortetsi. Just click on the unmute button. Nkabi Singh Lechlacha. Ntabi Singh?
Yeah.
Hi, Ntabi Singh, how are you?
Good, thanks for yourself.
Perfect. It's so nice to hear someone's voice after calling everybody. Great stuff. Thank you. If you can answer Hendrik's questions so that we can move on to the next point.
I just logged in. I'm trying to get the hang of it, and it's still my first day. So can I please pass this one?
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. Also, welcome to our class. It's so nice to have you. We hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right. And then let's see. Pume Shinga. Pume Shinga. Okay, I don't see Pume. Rosemary Madhu. Rosemary Madhu.
Yes, what was the question? I'm here.
Hi, Rosemary. Thank you so much. Hendrik, you can ask her the question. Thanks.
Hi, Rosemary. All right, so
Hello.
the statement says Tabo is beginning to use two-word sentences during play and shows confidence when engaging with his peers. How would you assess Tabo? Meaning, which method would you use to assess Tabo if you look at the statement?
I will assess him. The method that I can use is that one for, since he's starting to talk, I will check the speech and check how is he playing on the playground with the other kids, the other children.
All right, so you would basically use observation notes to see
Yes.
what he is doing and how he is progressing. and how he's working from his baseline that we established when he started at the school?
Yes.
All right. That makes sense. Thank you. All right. If we can carry on with the next slide, recording and reporting assessment. And so when we record and reporting assessment, it's very important to keep it simple, clear, and factual. And to use the child-friendly notes to focus on strengths before challenges, share recommendations with parents, and reporting that reflects development and not judgment. So we do not use vague wording like the child is behind. This is unhelpful. We use language that is descriptive, specific, and is connected to developmental milestones. All right, understanding assessment evidence. So observation notes. Let me restart, sorry. Understanding assessment evidence. Evidence shows us proof of learning. It's any information that shows a child's level of development, skills, or progress. Examples would be observation notes. It would be the child's work examples, which is of the portfolio of evidence, photographs or audio clips, anecdotal records, checklists, and rating scales. You observe a child threading beads. You note that Tapiso has threaded 12 beads independently using a pincer grip. He needed support only when changing colors. So what other simple activities can generate natural evidence? Is there anyone that can mention an activity for me that can generate natural evidence, such as the Tapiso that was threading the beads using a pincer grip and doing that really well, but only needing support when he's changing colors? So we could see that he needed support when he was changing colors, and we can see that maybe he had an issue with identifying the colors or holding on when he had to change the colors. But is there any different form of activity that you could see that could give you the similar natural evidence?
Amelia, would you like to answer the question 5? Amelia?
Leanne, is there any activity that you could think of that could generate similar natural evidence?
I would say child building puzzles. To build a puzzle is in a natural environment, so it will help you to have a look at the child and to see the child during this free play activity. So it's in a more natural environment, and then it's just basically to gather evidence and see if the child is himself while building a puzzle.
Right, and then we could also see concentration. We could see fine motor skills. We could see quite a few things from a puzzle. So thank you, excellent example. All right, on our next page is characteristics of good evidence. So good assessment evidence is authentic. It shows the child's true ability. It's current, so it's recent enough to reflect progress. It's not old, outdated evidence. It's sufficient, meaning there's enough examples to show us a pattern of this. It's relevant, meaning it's linked to our learning outcomes. And it's observable. It's behaviors, it's things we can factually see on the children, and not just interpretations from our side. So weak versus strong evidence, we can see that weak evidence is that Lerato struggles with puzzles. But strong evidence is stating that Lerato completed a 6-piece puzzle with 2 prompts. Difficulty occurred when pieces with straight edges were introduced. So we can learn from this, we can see exactly what the evidence is, and we can track it in the future. We can observe how she progresses with us. So it's important to note that authentic evidence shows the child's real ability, and we have to get the child to physically do the task themselves. And that we remember that a single observation is not always enough. That might be the luck of the draw. It's important that we build sufficient observable behaviors and sufficient evidence through multiple tasks to make sure that we get good evidence and sufficient evidence. Right, record keeping tools in ECD. So tools would be our daily observations, sheets, developmental checklists aligned to the national curriculum framework, a portfolio of evidence, child profile summary sheets, photographic records that we use with permission from the parents. Um, these are excellent record keeping tools, and we should use them in our ECD centers at all times. If we look at a scenario that's on the screen there, we notice child avoids outdoor play. You capture this over several days in an observation sheet, then add a note to the child's profile. This becomes data for an intervention. I'm sure if you look at your specific ECD centers, you would see that there's already tools that's in use. And I'm sure when you go back to your ECD center, you notice that there are gaps which you might be able to fill. It's important for us to look at which gaps we can also fill in our own ECD center. So we must use the tools that we see here, see what we already use, and then introduce what we need to introduce to better our own record keeping in our ECDs. Right, linking observations to NCF, which is the National Curriculum Framework learning areas. So the NCF areas of well-being of the child's identity and belonging, communication, both to his peers and his teachers, exploring mathematics, creativity, knowledge, and understanding of the world around them. So if we can have a look at a simple assessment with blocks, a child builds a tower with blocks. We can see number one with mathematics that the child compares sizes and can see what fits where. Pre-construction and building something unique is creativity. And well-being, what we point to well-being is the amount of confidence the child has while they're building this unique structure on their own. So those are three simple observations we can make from building a tower with blocks.
Okay, so if I can ask Rosemary to answer the question for me, can you give us an example of an activity where you can link observation notes to the NCF area?
Observation what? I didn't
No,
hear
no,
you. You sounding. Your voice is very far.
sorry about that. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, can you give us an example of an activity where you can link it to the observation to the NCF area? So remember, your NCF areas is those areas that you can see on screen. So for example, mathematics, where you can compare sizes, but mathematics can also be a problem solving. So an activity that you can include, let's say for mathematics or creativity or even child well-being. So an activity that you can think of that you use in the classroom.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. I can use the threading beads. Sort them in colors and sort them in sizes, and then make the child thread those beads using the sizes and colors.
That is a very, very good example. Thank you. Is there like any other activity that you can maybe think of that you would like to share with the group?
Yes, what we usually do, right? Like what he's saying about the blocks and the blocks and the sizes. You can also mix the colors. Then you say to the child, can you uh build the tower using, like what we used to do is like building the tower using the colors. Like the Lego pieces, we used to do them using colors and match it, give them the card, and then say copy the picture using the colors, sort them in colors.
Okay, that's also a very good one. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's ask, I see Promise. The name is Promise on the screen. Would you like to answer the question for us? Tabasem, would you like to answer? I know you're new, so welcome. Would you like to try to answer the question first, Nitaba Singh?
Yeah, sure. Hi. Um, so I think kids love color, and most of them notice a lot of things when they're in color. So basically, having stuff like puzzles or pegs, the normal pegs that we use on our washing line. So you could have them in blue, green, and whatever colors that you can have them, and then they can just sort them out. Have pink one side, have blue one side. I think that also does work.
Well done, thank you.
Pleasure.
All right, building an observation to assessment cycle. So through this cycle, we first observe what is happening in the classroom, how the child is behaving, what the child is doing, how the child is doing their worksheets. We record this observation. We then have to interpret the recorded observation that we have. From this interpretation, we make a plan to assist the child to better. Then we implement this plan and we review after a later period. So as an example, we see that a child uses 2-word phrases. So we make notes of this. We keep record of how the child's phrases go every single day. We interpret this as an emerging language development. We then plan to introduce picture books and daily storytelling. And 2 weeks later, we review this and see that the child uses 3 to 4 word sentences. So we can see that there has been progress throughout this observation to assessment cycle. And this is very important for all our activities. We need to observe where we are, what exactly is happening, record it, interpret it, plan to better the child, implement our plans, and then always review at the end of this so that we can see whether our plan is working or not working. So on the next slide, it's interpreting challenging behaviors. So we need to understand that behavior is communication, especially in children. Children are not always 100% certain on how to communicate their frustrations or their feelings verbally. And it might come out in ways that it would not come out for us as adults. So examples of this is when a child meets another child, they may feel overwhelmed, or they may be unable to verbalize frustration that they have. We might see a child withdraws completely from their friends or from being active in the class or participating in certain activities. And this may mean that the child is feeling unsafe or unsure of what they're supposed to do in the class. And it's important that we remember it's our job to ensure that a child feels safe in our environment at school and to guide them to be sure with what they have to do. And then lastly, a child ignoring instructions. Here we need to check that the child understands our communication to them and that there's clarity in the routine that's needed, and that we're not confusing them with our instructions, that we're maybe not using words they're not understanding, or there's not a language barrier, but we need to communicate clearly to the child. So if Leanne could go, I've got a question for everyone. A child ignoring instructions, what possible reasons could explain this behavior?
Okay, let's quickly check here on the list. Lesejo. Lesejo, are you with us? Valerie. Valerie, are you with us? Okay, I see a promise. Promise, are you with us? Lesejo, are you with us? Mita, are you with us?
Hello.
Hi, and welcome. I also know that you are new. You only started today, so welcome.
Thank you.
So
Um,
I
what
just want you to listen to the phrase, and then I just want you to give me a possible reason or explanation why do you think the child might hit or bite another child?
one possible thing could be maybe the way things are in the house, because we come from different houses and we don't normally behave the way that other people behave. So if the child sees that the parents or whoever adults they live with, they are always fighting, shouting, so they will think that is correct, and that's what they will do in class with other kids because they live around that environment.
All right, no problem. And what evidence would you use to understand it better? Is there a type of evidence that you would like to collect over time to make sure that your statement is the like how can I put it the right the right thing that happens in that child's life, if I can put it like that.
Okay. Firstly, maybe I'll start by observing the child. Maybe after a day or so, I can call the child and maybe talk to him or her in a manner that they will feel safe with me, that they can open up with me, or maybe find something that they are good at. Maybe that will somehow show or tell what is happening in their lives. Hello?
Thank you. That was an excellent example. We really appreciate it, Mita.
Thank you.
If I can just add, so you want to use the observational notes, but there's also a thing that we use event sampling. So that is basically where you can gather information over a certain time. For example, from Monday to Friday, so the whole week, and then you check if it maybe happens with rotation of activities, if it happens after or during free play outside. So that is also one that you can use is the event sampling. Thank you, Indra.
All right, thank you. I I love the example number three, a child that ignores instructions, and that it says we need to check understanding and routine clarity. I believe a lot of the times we might be looking for a fault in the child or what the child does, but we also need to check if we are communicating clearly, and that we are not giving through any confusing instructions to the child. So I do also think that that's an important note on the child ignoring the instructions. All right, intervention planning. So here's a small scenario. Um, we've observed that the child is struggling with scissors for 2 weeks. Um, and we need to design a mini intervention using the cycle that we've discussed. So we need to observe the difficulty of the child, what exactly is happening with the scissors. We need to then interpret whether it's fine motor development or exactly why the child is struggling. We need to plan supportive activities, implement daily short sessions, and then review our progress. So if Leanne doesn't mind, she can run us through how she would do a intervention planning with you guys for the task where a child is using two hands when cutting with scissors.
Thank you, Ingrid. Just go to the next slide for me, please. Okay, so on this slide, you will see that it says observation, interpret, plan, and implement and review. So I would like to give six students a chance just to think of an observation that we can do in class and then how to record it, how to implement it, what is the plan forward, sorry, how to interpret, and then the plan forward, and then how we would implement our plan, and then just to review when and how we would review the scenario again. So I'm just going to go through the list quickly again. Just call out a few names. If you want to join, you can just say yes. If you're not feeling comfortable, you can just say no, it's not a problem, I understand. So we'll ask Valerie. I don't know if Valerie is here. Still nothing. Rosemary.
Yes.
All right. So Rosemary, I want you to take 5 minutes to think of an observation. So remember, the observation is that we are looking at the child that's cutting with two hands. So
Yes.
why does he use two hands? And so you are observing this child. So now you just think of a child in your class that's cutting with two hands. How would you observe him? And then we will look at, let's quickly look for second student. Noko, are you with us? Amelia, are you with us? Tabasing, would you like to join?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Okay, I'll give you the easy one. I'll give you the record one. So how would you record it? So you can think of how you do it in class when you see that something is happening or something is wrong. So yeah, we can do that for you. And then Lesejo, I still have a Lesejo here. I don't know if you're with us. Manita, Pendile, would you like to join us? Okay, it seems like no one wants to join us tonight. So, Rosemary, if I can give you then the first two, and then saying if I can give you the last two, then the plant and the implement, and then Rosemary, the observation and the in. Sorry, let me just go back quickly. The interpret.
Hello, are we still there?
I can hear you, Pedro.
Okay, everything just went quiet. I'm not sure what happened.
I think we might have lost Leanne.
Oh, okay. Hendrik, are you there?
There, I'm back. Sorry, I had a bit of a network issue there for a second.
So I'll give you the observation and the interpretation, and then someone else.
Welcome
Alright.
back, Leanne.
Sorry, I think it is the
No
network.
problem. Let's keep it
Sorry,
moving.
no problem. Sorry, Rosemary, if you can give us your observation.
So the observation child needs 2 hands to cut, right? Is it that one?
Yes. So it says the child struggles with a scissor for 2 weeks. So it is. So you can just say, how would you observe that child?
Okay. Um, I can give the child the scissors and paper every day to practice cutting and see how can I help that child, like, and record each and every day, and also help the child to hold the scissors in one hand.
All right. So you will see the answer say a child needs 2 hands to cut. Why do you think a child needs 2 hands to cut? 2 hands to cut.
Oh, so holding the paper and holding the scissors.
All right.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. I'm dreaming.
No, it's fine. And without looking at the answer sheet now, how would you interpret it? If okay, so the answer says basically it's fine motor skills, but is there anything else that you can do to help that child?
Yes. I can what else I can do is that I can give the child maybe the different lines of on the paper, draw the different lines on the paper, then let the child practice cutting. Maybe it will be a zigzag, maybe a straight line, maybe dots, maybe then the child must practice cutting on top of the line. Sometimes I tell the child, can you please cut next to the line?
All right, no problem. And then, sorry, I've got one quick question for you before you go. How would you record it? Is there a specific way that you will keep looking at that child to make sure that you record it correctly? And what kind of record would you use?
I would write the notes every day.
So you will basically do event sampling then.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate your answer. Tabi Singh, now it is you again. What is the plan that you will use in the future to assist that child?
You said you're gonna ask me how do I record it? And I had time to think about the recording. And
No
now
problem. You can
you're about
if
planning.
if you've got the answer for the record, you can also give us the answer for the record. I don't mind at all.
Uh, oh, okay. I heard earlier you mentioned that you can take photos or videos or whatever he's doing. Also noted that you mentioned with the permission of the parents, of course. So I would take record of that to see from day one or from the beginning of the assessment. I believe that will show me the progress up until now, if there is progress. And um, yeah, I think that would be the best record on a daily basis to see if he's catching up, and also on my side, I have to improve to see that he improves as well.
Okay, and then what is the plan that you would like to use going forward?
I share the same sentiments with Rosemary, to give him more exercises, draw a line, show him how the line goes, all the dots, um, find something that he likes. Maybe if he likes a circle or a car, pictures of stuff that he likes that can easily grab his attention and cut along that. And
All
also,
right. And then,
and also to try to figure out if he's left-handed or right-handed. Probably he's struggling because he's left and he's just holding on the right, you know, probably he's just struggling because of left and right hands, yeah.
all right. So he is basically changing between the two hands.
Yeah.
Well done on answering that, and you are brand new, so well done. So I will basically say if we need to review it, we will give it about 2 weeks time. We will then write small notes just to see if the child improves. Like Tabi said, that if the child is moving the scissor between the left and the right hand, we can always just test him on that as well. There is a way to test him to make sure if he's right-handed or left-handed. So in 2 weeks' time, we will just review and see if he was able to use the scissor correctly. And then we will also then see if the correct grip of the scissor is actually improving or not. And then he will be able to cut on lines. So I don't know if there's anyone with questions for us. If you can just unmute yourself and ask your question if there is any questions. All right, so I think there is no questions then for us.
All right. On the final quick knowledge check, we're having a look at what makes evidence authentic. I was saying you've been an awesome participant. Could you remember what we said when we said what makes evidence authentic? Do you remember what we said it is?
Yeah, I think you mentioned pictures, recordings, also having a portfolio. Yeah, I think yeah. And check notes. You also mentioned making notes.
That's correct. Yes, evidence. Look, evidence is authentic when it's collected naturally during free play, and when it's the child's real work. So whichever form of evidence we collect, it is authentic when it's something that was actually done by the child, and it gives us a true reflection of where the child is. So you're right. It's whether it's a picture, whether it's observational notes, regardless of the type of evidence we've collected, as long as it's the child's natural observation during playtime, or it's their actual work that we got from a worksheet, that is authentic evidence. Then if Leanne could give us an example of a subjective observation.
Alright, so subjective observation is based on a personal opinion and then interpretation rather than your facts. So that's basically where you say the child doesn't understand. You are not going out and see why the child doesn't understand. You just immediately assume that there's something wrong with the child. If that is the right answer.
Thank you for that, Leanne. All right, so then if we could look at two NCF areas, that's the National Curriculum Framework areas that can be assessed outdoors, where the children are playing outdoors and we're having a fun outdoor activity. Can anyone in the class name two NCF areas that can be assessed outdoors?
Sandile, do you maybe want to try to answer that question for us? Rosemary, would you like to answer the question first? All right, I see it's 7 o'clock already. We've only got the 4 questions left. So we can just finish up with those 4 questions, and then when we're all done with tonight's lesson. So I don't know if there's anyone that quickly wants to just see and answer the 4 questions for us.
All right, let's quickly wrap it. Let's quickly run through it. So Leanne gave us an excellent example of a subjective observation. The subjective observation is based on opinions, feelings, or assumptions, and not what you can clearly see or hear the child does. So in an ECD assessment, we of course want to avoid subjective observations. The 2 NTF areas that can be assessed outdoors would be physical development and gross motor skills, and then social and emotional development, as we can see how the children interact with their friends outside. And then what is the purpose of the observation assessments? Okay, Leanne, can you quickly answer that for us, please?
Sorry, yes, it is a way to access continuous and more recent documents for the child, that is if the child is making enough progress. So it's just basically by keeping all of the documents on file, and then just assess him on a regular basis. So it is more of a everyday assessment than just a once in a week assessment.
All right, yes, thank you. The observation assessment cycle is the process practitioners use to understand the child's development plan and effectively support learners. So we observe and we report, we interpret, we plan, and we implement. And so the purpose of this is to ensure assessment leads to support, prevent guesswork so that we actually know what's happening, help track progress over time, protect practitioners, which is ourselves professionally, because we have a full record of what we are doing, and support individualized learning. As we said in the beginning, no 2 learners learn at exactly the same place or start from the same spot. So we can assist them through this learning process. So the observation assessment cycle is a continuous process of observing, recording, interpreting, planning, implementing, and reviewing a child's development to support learning effectively. Then if we were to rewrite level was difficult during group time, how we would do it in a more constructive way is to report what actually happened. Let's say Lebu's difficulty was that she was not communicating with us and not walking out of the class and not responding to when she was called. We could rather say that Lebu had left the group during the lesson and did not respond when she was called. Or we could mention specific insights that we could see during this lesson. Leanne, how would you rewrite it?
So I'll just basically say during group play, Lebu was struggling with transitioning from the activity table to the worksheet table.
All right, thank you. That's correct. That's a more constructive way of putting it. And to assist us with development, as we can see exactly what it was that Lego did during the lesson, and we can work from there. Then lastly, which tool would you use to track long-term progress? Leanne, which tool would you use?
Right, so we can answer those 2. So I will say Profile. All of the children's work in one file, so that would be the activity books or the workbooks, and then a developmental checklist. So basically the checklist that I would use is the checklist that we get from the milestones.
All right. Yeah, we would use the portfolio of evidence to track long-term progress. And then we could see where the child has started in the beginning of the year and where we've ended. So if we want to see growth, we should always look over time, not just in a single day. We'll always see growth over a longer period. Thank you to everyone that's taken time to listen to us tonight and to join the class. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all our participants. I think that is it from me tonight.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Hendrik.
everyone.
Thank you so much, Leanne, as well. Just before we end the classes, just two quick announcements. Firstly, welcome to all of our newcomers. Thank you so much, Tabi Singh. You jumped into it, I see. You went in balls rolling, so that's great. Next time we'll be a bit less. We won't put you on the spot again this time. Thank you so much. I understand that this class gets a bit technical, and it's not a very enjoyable topic to learn, but this is a very important topic. As an ECD practitioner, you're constantly observing the children under your care, constantly teaching them also, and their fine motor skills, etc. So it's very important that we know how to observe children, especially also for those who want to open up their own ECD centers one day. The second announcement is we've had 65 learners writing their exams today. They wrote the EC exam with the ETDP CETA. These learners come from all over the country, KZN, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, from everywhere, and they all sat down to write today. It's a 3-hour exam. So we're sending them good vibes, and we hope that they've all passed so they can all get accredited. So let's wish them all the best there. And then final announcement is my position. I will be retiring from Erudite. I've had a good 6 years here, and I will be not training, but I will be passing over to Sophia Rahim, who will be taking over my spot. So in the next class, probably you'll hear her voice and not mine. So I just want to thank everyone who I've met in this course, and I want to wish you guys all the best for the future. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. And I wish we all have a great evening, and we'll see you again in the next class. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you.
Good luck for your future ventures.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.